You're listening to the Educated Cowgirl Podcast, episode 21. Hey cowgirls and cowboys, on today's episode I am very proud to share with you a roundtable discussion that I recorded a couple weeks ago actually, before the episode I released with Jenna and Alex, but I think coordinate well together, as it is a very important topic that is so relevant right now, something that I believe is very important to talk about as it affects everyone in the equine industry, whether you are a brand new horse owner or you have been involved for decades. I got to speak with three ladies who have so much passion about equine welfare, the industry, and helping to educate others about owning responsibly. Ashley Harkins, Kelsey Buckley, and Andrea Manly work for the United Horse Coalition and the Equine Welfare Data Collective that works in collaboration with the American Horse Council to not only research the data and report it in a way that you can understand, but also how we can continue to learn to do the best we can by the horse. Our conversation was so interesting and informative about something that affects every discipline and every horse breed in our industry, from how the economy affects our horse purchase decisions to making informed decisions about being a responsible owner and everything in between. You are definitely going to learn a lot from this episode, because I know I did. Also, in this episode, we mention a few links of where you can go to find out more information about the United Horse Coalition and the EWDC, which I have put in the show notes, so be sure to check that out. Now, let's get into the episode. But before we dive into this episode, this is your friendly reminder to make sure you are following the Educated Cowgirl podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts on. And if you want to get a special shout out on social media or on maybe a future episode, make sure you leave a rating and review, as that is the best way for me to know how you are liking the episodes, and it helps me to grow the show. Hey, and welcome to the Educated Cowgirl Podcast, hosted by yours truly. My name is Abby Carpenter, and I am a cowgirl and equestrian through and through. I started this podcast wanting to make more of an impact in the equine industry. That's why I am making it my mission to help promote the industry to the public through sharing my love for horses through education and bringing other experts and professionals onto the podcast with me to discuss important topics that impact the horse community. So whether you are a crazy horse lady like me, want to learn more about horses, or want to learn more about the industry, you've come to the right place. On this podcast, we will be talking about ownership, horsemanship, fitness, faith, breeds, and so much more. We believe that it doesn't matter what type of saddle you ride in or the breed of horse you may ride. We all contribute to this community to make it great, and that there is always something to learn from the back of your horse. So grab a coffee and get ready to take some notes, and let's get started. This is the Educated Cowgirl Podcast. All right, so welcome back to another episode of the podcast, everyone. I am so thrilled about who I am talking with today. Three ladies who are doing some amazing things nationally to bring awareness to equine welfare and how we can be making a difference in responsible ownership. So I will go ahead and let y'all introduce yourselves, what you do, and a little bit about your backgrounds, and then a fun fact about yourselves. So whoever wants to start us off.
I don't mind going first.
All right.
So I'm Ashley Harkins, and I have recently taken on the role as operations manager for the United Horse Coalition, as well as its parent organization, the American Horse Council.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, I was the UHC director, who Andrea has now taken over that role. And I've been with UHC since 2019. Before that, I worked for the Animal Rescue League of Boston as their horse and livestock rehabilitation and adoption supervisor. And I was there for about 14 years. And I also, part-time in between there, I worked as a certified animal control officer for the state of Massachusetts. So I've had sort of a lot of hats in my life with horses.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel very fortunate to have had such interesting jobs. Currently, I'm living in an antique farm. I guess this could be my little unique fact there. I live in an antique farmhouse that was built in the 1830s. And I currently have a gelding, his pony, Hunter, chickens, and 3 kiddos, and a husband who thankfully puts up with it all. He's over there in the background over there. Um, I should probably give you a little bit of background on the United Horse Coalition. So we were established back in 2006 when industry stakeholders wanted to come together and talk about how we were going to tackle the issues that were surrounding what were termed unwanted horses at the time, during the economic downturn. And we've since we say this a lot, but we've since moved away from the term unwanted, because it's not that these horses are unwanted, it's that they were actually put in a situation that put them at risk. So now we just call them horses that are at risk or in transition.
Great.
And we've really morphed our mission over the past couple of years we've moved away from boots on the ground type program to more of a focus on education surrounding the topics of responsible horse ownership and what it means to be a responsible owner, and really just taking accountability for the horse that you own so that they don't end up in a situation where they're at risk. We like to sort of think of ourselves as sort of that bridge between owners and the resources that are out there to help them keep their horse safe at home. I tend to be a little bit winded in my responses.
Good. You're good. You're good. Yeah, no, I'm fascinated by old farmhouses too, so that's really cool.
Oh, I love it.
How
It's
old
amazing.
your house is. Yeah.
It is amazing.
Yeah. All right, Kelsey, you go ahead.
All right, awesome. So I am Kelsey Buckley. I am the Equine Welfare Data Collective Program Administrator. I took this position in January of 2023, and since then I have learned so much. So I'm still like fairly new, but I'm getting there. I told the girls I feel like I'm getting my groove finally. This is currently a part-time role for me, and my other job is as the outbound manager for one of the largest equestrian goods distributors in New England. So I juggle a couple of things.
Yeah.
I grew up with horses. I am a loud and proud horse girl. I went to the University of New Hampshire and I got a degree in equine management. And after that, I graduated and I did manage some facilities around New England before I took my current job. I live in a nice little house at the bottom of a mountain in New Hampshire. I have 2 geldings, a Lusitano and a big paint horse, that we actually have a wonderful view of right out behind me in our 3-acre field, which is super nice.
Yeah.
My fun fact I'd have to say is I also made the choice to have 2 very loud, opinionated Siberian Huskies. So that's my little background. And let me tell you a little bit about the Equine Welfare Data Collective. The EWDC was established in 2018. It is a community-driven initiative to help the horse industry as a whole understand the need of at-risk horses, owners seeking help, and the organizations that are providing support. It's the only program of its kind that's tracking this kind of data on horses. We're all horse owners ourselves. We have experience in the rescue world, so we're better able to understand the nuances that go with equine rescue. We collect data from nonprofits across the US. We aggregate and analyze that data, and then we create impartial reports that are free to the public. In these reports, you'll see baseline trends like capacity, intakes, outcomes, assistance services, and the current population descriptions that are in these rescues. Over the last 5 years, the EWDC has received data from almost 400 organizations in the US. And not only do the outcomes of these reports help inform the industry, they also help us continue to build and develop the UHC's equine resource database. And every one of these reports is free and available on our website.
Great. That's so great. Andrea, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. So my name is Andrea Manly, and I've literally just joined the United Horse Coalition this month. So I'm just diving in, and I'm loving every minute of it.
Perfect.
I'll be taking over some of the things that Ashley had been doing as the UHC manager. She's set the bar really high because she's pretty amazing, but I'm going to do my best to keep up with her.
Yeah.
I'll be leading our meetings. I'll be going to equine gatherings such as Equine Affair and just being the voice kind of the UHC. I'll be doing more podcasts and spreading the good word about what we do, which is absolutely amazing because not enough people know about us and all the resources we have. I bought a brand new house, the opposite of Ashley's antique farmhouse, in Aiken, South Carolina. And my field is in front of me, so I can sit here and watch. I've got mother and son, and I borrowed a friend's young horse to keep my mare company while I ride my boy. My fun fact, I just adopted, and she's passed out underneath me, a 3-month-old puppy. We went to the shelter to look for a friend in New Hampshire that wanted to adopt a dog, and she was just, giving me the eyes. And I just had to. Someone left her in a box on the side of the road, and she's just perfect. I've had her a little over a week. She's already housebroken and just follows me around. Just perfect.
The puppy dog eyes.
Eyes.
Get you every time.
Yes.
She just locked on. It was like, you're taking me home.
Yeah.
She did.
No, love
How could you not?
I have a cat too, and the cat is funny because she just punches her in the face, but she doesn't put her claws out, so I think she kind of likes her a little bit. But
I mean, that's her job as a cat. She's going to keep everyone in mind.
So
yeah,
great.
She's fierce. She's a North American miniature Black Panther, I call her. So, I too went to the University of New Hampshire. I got my bachelor's degree as in pre-vet, and then I wound up going back and getting my MBA from there as well. And I've run my own barns. I worked for Steuben for many, many years as a saddle fitter. I've worked for feed companies. I've just been somehow involved in the industry in all sorts of ways. And so now I teach for post-university, and we have a fully online equine bachelor's degree program. So I do that and the UHC, and then kind of freelance. I'm in Aiken, which is horse country. So someone will say, hey, I need my horse clipped. All right. I need this, I need that. I love the flexibility and meeting new people. So
yeah,
just go around and help out.
Great. That's so great. So you got your bachelor's in pre-vet. So did you have a dream to become a vet, and then it changed, or?
I had thought about it. And I had so many friends going to vet school, and their bills were just massive and they were so busy. And at the time I wound up, I was working for a rescue that turned out to be not run by good people. So I reported the rescue and got her shut down, and then wound up inheriting said rescue for a little bit. So wound up taking over the barn and adopted out the horses that were still available, and then running a boarding and training facility for 10 years. So I kind of deferred that way. And then at some point I said, I like school. I'm going to go back, and went back for my MBA. So I feel like I can at least use all of my degrees to some extent.
Yeah, I definitely had a random schooling. I was an education major at one point, thought I was going to be a teacher, and then realized that I needed to still be with horses. So it's been all over the place, but yeah.
Oh yeah. I actually was a part-time police officer for 3 years as well. But you just keep coming back to the industry.
Yeah.
You can't get away.
Yeah. That's the nice thing about the industry is there are so many options. I think a lot of people go into it thinking, oh, I need to be a trainer or a vet or be a barn manager, but there's really so much more to it than that.
Yes, exactly.
So many ways to be involved.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so for the first question, to start off, let's talk about the webinar that just happened in March, where you presented the data from UHC and the EWDC 2022 report. From the data that was shown, what awareness do you hope it brought to the public, and then what do you hope comes out of it?
So I will take the reins on this one. So the report that you're talking about was our 6th report that we published at the beginning of February, and it showed similar results to report 5, which covered the data from 2021. And we were thinking that some people would notice that adoptions were down in this report. In 2021, adoptions were 75% of outcomes, versus in 2022, they were 66% of outcomes. And at first glance, it might seem a little worrisome, but we also saw a bump in organizations transferring equines out of their program and into another rescue or sanctuaries program. In 2021, only 3.5% of outcomes were transfers to other agencies, but in 2022, that jumped up to 12% of horses being transferred out of an agency into a different program. So what that means to us looking at that number is that rescues and sanctuaries are networking better and working together to get these adoptable horses to high demand areas where adoption will be a more likely final outcome for them. And that I hope is something people can look at, even though that adoption number looks a little scary. That transfer of horses from agency to agency is actually a good thing. So it's probably moving them to someplace where they're more likely to be adopted, be visible, and be seen by a potential home.
Yeah, no, that's great. And do you think that like adoptions are down because people are afraid of like the kind of horse they're getting, or they just want a horse that'll be more competitive, or what do you think it would be the reason for the decrease in adoptions?
I think I don't mean to jump in.
I was just going to ask you.
I think a lot of times
more trends than me.
The trends with horses, they are expensive to own. I think tend to follow a lot of what's going on and economically. So you'll see it sort of wax and wane depending on what's going on with the economy as well.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, that's good. So next question. So one of the quotes that I loved that I took away from the webinar is data tells a story using facts, which I thought was so fascinating. Can you dive a little more into what that means and when it comes to equine welfare?
Yeah, absolutely. So this was my question. I thought it'd be a good one to tackle. So, gosh, one of the struggles that we and I think really anybody who has to deal with data has is how do we make boring numbers relatable to people? So,
Yeah.
We live in a society where we're always in constant information overload and really nobody wants to take the time to read data and try to make inferences on it when you're just getting bombarded with stuff. It's too dry and it requires too much of our brain space. So what we have to do and what the struggle has always been is to try and take what those numbers are trying to tell us and turn that into something that's relatable to people. So something they can use to affect their everyday lives. The numbers mean something, and we need to figure out a way to turn that into a story so that will get their attention. Something that will make people want to stop and take a look and really digest it. So part of what we're working on with the EWDC data is to take those numbers and tell the story to everybody in a way that makes it relatable to their everyday lives with horses. So show them why they want this data, how it can sort of inform the day-to-day decisions when it comes to the programming that is centered around equine welfare. So to give you a little bit of an example, this is one I like to use all the time, is one of the statistics that we talked about coming out of the report is that 70% of horses that are entering rescues and sanctuaries are there because something happened to their owner. So these are reasons for owner's health, owner's finances, their age, and so on. Or it can also be a part of that percentage is horses that are confiscated by law enforcement. So, again, having to do with the owner could not or would not care for them properly. So that's a statistic. It's a boring number. But how do we turn that into something that is meaningful and has the potential to actually create change for these horses? So for UHC, it meant focusing on education for owners on being responsible and taking more accountability for their horses. So getting them to think about what happens to their horse if something happens to them and convincing them to take the necessary steps to ensure that their horse does not become another statistic. So if you've been on the UHC website lately, we have a little video talking about, don't let your horse become another statistic. So that's one example. And in the report, there's so many stats and numbers that we can utilize to inform programming changes for the industry to help improve the lives of these at-risk horses. We just need to do our homework and find a way to turn that data into a story that everybody can understand.
Yeah, how the regular horse owner, they're like, because I know for me, like you said, numbers are very boring. And when you get a report, whether it's from your office or from anything, you're like, it's a lot of numbers. I don't really want to do that
nobody wants
math.
to take the time to read that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and how you can, how it impacts them, because everyone wants to know, how does this benefit me? Because we're all a
Exactly.
little bit selfish, unfortunately.
Exactly.
So
We have all this really great data, but we really need our homework now is to make sure that we're telling the story behind it.
great. Yeah, no, I love that. So fascinating. So I believe that welfare of our horses is always an important topic in the industry, but currently I've seen that it's been a big conversation, like, and a really hot topic lately. With the awareness that UHC is bringing to the country, what do you believe is the most important aspect of educating responsible owners and enthusiasts?
Yeah, so I'm going to tackle this question too. So one of the, like you said, one of the hot topics right now, when we talk about especially social license to operate, and for me, that really, part of our mission is in helping to educate on responsible horse ownership.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the central questions to that we always come back to is what happens to your horse if something happens to you.
Mm-hmm.
As owners, the single thing that we can do to protect our horses is to always be planning ahead. So making sure that we are setting our horse up for success should we come across a scenario in our lives that dictates the need to transition our horse into another home or career that isn't with us. So this means thinking about things like estate planning. So if, God forbid, should you die tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
do your friends and family know what needs to happen with your horse? So do you have assets available for them to help care for your horse in the event of your death? And even planning for situations that are more short term. So, if you lost your job today, what is your plan for your horse?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what resources are available to you in the short term to help? Or maybe, barring that, if you've come to recognize that you're in a place in your life where keeping your horse is no longer going to be a viable option. So we try to educate horse owners on responsible rehoming resources to make sure that horse doesn't end up in a situation where it's going to be put at risk. So
Right.
even thinking about simple things like making sure that your horse has a certain level of basic training, so ground training, that can make a huge difference between where they end up if something happens to you. So you are your horse's best advocate and you're their
Yes.
protector. And it's really up to you to put plans in place to make sure that they don't, like I said, become another statistic.
Yes, because they definitely do depend on us a lot, because domesticated horses definitely get a lot. If they were turned out in the wild, they would not be able to survive. So they do depend on us for everything. So,
and I think to answer the second part of your question, so to sort of help combat this problem, we put educational materials on all of this, and we put together what we call the UHC Equine Resource Database. And what that is it's an online database. I call it a database, but it's also, you could use it like a directory. And it has basically all known safety net resources, rescues, sanctuaries that we've identified nationwide that can assist at-risk horses and their owners. So the way that it works is they would go to the website, select the services they're in need of. So I use hay assistance as one of the bigger ones, hay or feed. And they would select that. They would put in the state that they reside, and we will populate the results with any resources that we're aware of that exist in their area that can assist them. So
great.
It's a pretty neat tool.
Yeah, yeah. Kelsey, did you have something you wanted to add?
Oh no, it is definitely a very, very cool tool.
Nice, great. No. Okay, yeah. So also with that, and you touched on it a little bit earlier, but you also discussed in the webinar the reasons horses are being rehomed. more in the last few years, whether to rescues or they're sold privately or however. With inflation increasing the way it has been and cost just skyrocketing, how do you think it will affect the number of new owners entering the industry and how they purchase and how they make purchase decisions or how they choose to participate in the industry? And do you think it will increase the number of horses being rehomed every year?
So I'm going to jump back in. The American Horse Council just did their economic impact study, and they asked this very question in it. And it actually got thousands of responses from horse owners. So in 2023, 26% of new horse acquisitions were made through adoptions, which is huge. That's a big number for people to be adopting horses.
Nice.
And when it came to asking about price, obviously everything is costing more, but 35% of respondents said even if prices stay like this and stay high, it wouldn't change how many horses they own. And only 13% of them said that they would sell their horse or end their lease. The remaining respondents said that they would consider postponing a new purchase or not replace their horse if it passes. To add to that, owners were asked where they see themselves in 5 years, and over 80% of them said that they would see themselves either more active in the equine industry or at the same level of involvement. As you know, horse people are very committed and very stubborn, so I don't see anyone really decreasing their activity in our industry.
Yes.
Also, the EIS showed that 38% of the horse industry participants are under the age of 18, and only 22% of the US population is made up of that age group. So looking at that way, our industry has a disproportionately high percentage of young people in it, which is awesome. And if you think about it, like I think about myself as a kid, a horse crazy kid, once you're in it and you have that bug, like there's no getting rid of it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Like it is definitely something that even though sometimes we may take a break in our college years, we definitely it's something that we want to be a part of. With those numbers, like when a parent signs their kid up for their first lesson and they've taken lessons for a while and the parents start talking to the trainer or instructor or whoever about purchasing a new horse, do you think with the data that you shared, how that will affect a parent potentially buying a horse for their child?
I
that
don't
makes
think
sense.
I get what you're asking. I don't think so. I think honestly, the way that the industry's been, I think this is the way they've been indoctrinated into it, and this is what they're expecting financially. So I don't think it'll really deter them from looking into purchasing or leasing a horse. What do you think, Ash?
I think there's a lot more education now too on different options to get into horses. So for new owners especially, there's been a lot of sort of the recommendation of getting into leasing first and making sure that you sort of have some like a mentor or somebody that to help guide you into this,
Yeah.
so you're not left dangling in the dark.
Yep.
Yeah, interesting. That's so interesting and fascinating. So this next question probably could be an entire episode of its own. It's such a big topic. But with educating responsible horse owners, I believe that part of that is doing the research of who you are buying a horse from. And so that new owners can avoid those bad eggs that we've all heard about in the industry. What do you think is important for them to understand in where they're looking for their first horse or their next purchase?
So I'm going to actually field that one. And you're right. This couldn't just be one episode. This could be so many episodes.
Yes.
There's just so much here.
Yeah.
It's
I
whole
took a lot of,
series.
I took a lot of notes so we could try and not squirrel and stay on track here.
Yeah.
I think the first step before you even start worrying about the bad eggs is to make sure you're ready for horse ownership, because it's not something to be taken lightly. And many considerations, of course, should be made first, because it's a huge commitment. It's physical, mental, emotional, and of course, financial. It shouldn't be an impulse decision or an emotional decision, but rather a well thought out plan. I say a plan, but horses, so we really should have a plan B and a plan C and a plan D.
Yeah.
Because, as Ashley mentioned earlier, what if something happens to you? Like, I live here alone. Who's going to take care of my horses if something happens? So I have a plan in place for that and check in with people. But if you have to move for work, are you going to be able to bring your horse? Or if you can't work anymore, how are you going to afford that? And of course, the data shows us that that's the biggest reason that people are sending their horses to the rescues, because they can no longer afford them or their life has changed. So that's a start of the questions you would need to ask. We could have a whole podcast on what to ask yourself. We do have on our website, the UHC website, we have lots of great readings and resources on this topic, everything from deciding financially, helping you figure out how much a horse costs, to deciding how to buy the right horse, and of course, the sad end of estate planning. So the first step is just to know that you'll be able to be a responsible horse owner, caring for these horses for 10, 20, even 30 or more years. My best friend's horse turns 35 tomorrow, and he's still sassy.
Holy
Sassy. Yeah, he's an OTTB, and he might be the oldest one alive.
That is astounding. Wow.
Oh, yeah. We tried to trot down the road the other day, and he galloped off.
Oh, goodness.
So that's, a big part of our mission here at UHC is to help people become responsible horse owners who can provide for the horses first. So when you're looking for your first horse, you need to determine what your skills and goals are before you can even start looking. Are you taking lessons with someone already? What experience and knowledge do you have? What do you want to do with this horse as far as riding it goes? Or do you just want to pet in your backyard to groom? So if you haven't taken any lessons, this is a really great opportunity to go assess your abilities and make a connection with a professional in whatever discipline you've decided. If you're enlisting the help of a professional, it's always the best decision before you go out and buy a new horse. It also creates a relationship with someone who can help with the horse, whether it's training, lessons, or if you're even just boarding the horse there. And ideally, they've already helped with the buying and selling process, so they kind of know who all the bad eggs are already.
Yeah.
And then, of course, having your relationship with a veterinarian and a farrier, they can help you kind of connect there as well. And also a big part of that is they can help you decide if this horse is a good match for your goals, or if you're going to be overmounted and then unhappy, and then who knows what the horse winds up there. And go see the horse in person, ideally with your professional. You can ask for references. You can ask to speak to some people that have recently purchased horses from the seller. Don't buy off a video online. No. There's just so many
from a Facebook ad.
There's so many things that can go wrong. I had a horse show up at a barn I worked at that was a completely different color than the horse they saw online.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, not subtle. And
so close.
So close, but very far away. And don't pay any type of deposit or hold fees unless you have an agreement done up in person. Because we keep seeing that people complaining online that they've lost money on a deposit only to find out the horse never actually existed. And then, of course, on the other end, we encourage people to adopt and go to a rescue because these horses need homes. And as we've learned, they often are in their position or in transition because someone just couldn't afford them. So there's a lot of great horses in rescues needing homes. So take your time to do some research to find a reputable rescue. They are a great resource because they want what's best for the horse too. They're not looking to make a huge profit on the horse like the trainers are and their commissions and whatnot. So they're going to be upfront and honest about the horse and any issues it has, any maintenance it needs, any concerns. They want you to be a good match too. Yes. So they're often going to allow you to have a trial, and they'll have that safety net. So if something does happen to you, they'll often take the horse back. So that's kind of nice.
That's huge in this day and age.
Yes. Yeah.
And, we keep seeing these stories on social media now about all the kill pens and horses needing to be bailed out. And here's the bail. The horse is going to chip off to slaughter at midnight. These are really sad, and they're schemes that are playing on our emotional and we should never buy emotionally. It should be a well thought out
Yes.
decision,
Yes.
as I mentioned. So definitely stay away from those. It's very sad, but that's the way they're designed.
Yeah.
And in the end, no matter who you buy from, have a vet do a lameness exam. At the very least, a lameness, a soundness exam. Have a look at the horse. And you can go to the high end too, and of course do a full pre-purchase and have x-rays done. Depends on your goals. But at least here, the seller knows, you have a great baseline to start your new partnership from. And now you've also got a relationship with your vet.
Yeah. And I've definitely heard stories of like, if the seller does not want to do a lameness check, that's a red flag. Like,
Yeah.
Yep.
Look for the red flags.
Yes. Yep. So many red flags in so many different areas. Yes. No, but I liked how they should start thinking logically before they ever put their emotions into it. Because I mean, obviously there are emotions involved because we do love horses, but we also have to think about, does this make sense for me? So
an ounce of prevention.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Okay, so this next question I changed a little bit from what I originally wrote, but with everything I've asked you today, this has been so great. To wrap it up, is there a topic or anything that we didn't cover that you feel passionate about, that you feel people don't know much about, or they just might not be aware of it?
I can start. I think, 20 years ago, the welfare scene was so different than what it is today. And where I'm sort of getting at with this is with owners and that whole feeling around being judged. I would say that it is so important to understand that no one, absolutely no one, is immune to hardship in life. So we're all in the same bucket there. But there are ways to mitigate and plan for it. So if you're an owner who's struggling, could be any one of us, don't wait to ask for help. There is an amazing network of organizations out there who just want to help and get the best possible outcome for you and your horse. So no one is out there to judge you. We may not have all of the answers, but I can speak for UHC that we will do our best to make sure that you get access to the resources that you need. So there's a lot of people out there who want to help. You just have to reach out.
Great.
Yeah, I agree with Ashley. I think there's like a stigma, or there has been a stigma that's getting less so about asking for help. Like it was so you can do it on your own for the longest time. And I feel like it's finally starting to be acceptable. People are starting to realize that it's okay to ask for help. Like we all need it sometimes.
There's
about. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Continue.
When you think about, so just to give you a scenario, you're an owner who's struggling. You lost your job. You think, if I can just scrape it together, and you're watching your horse in your pasture start to lose weight, and then they don't need to see the farrier for this round. We'll just wait it out, and then their feet grow long, and then their body condition, before you know it, body condition score of 2. And if they had just reached out when that horse was at a good condition, a rescue and a sanctuary is going to have a lot easier time transitioning that horse into a new home than they would if you wait until that horse is at risk and the horse has to go through a rehab program that now takes,
or they're seized by the Humane Society or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas if you recognize that there's a problem and you reach out sooner than later, both you and the horse are you're going to get to have a much better quality of life. You're going to get the help you need to get back up on your feet, and your horse is going to be safe. So definitely reaching out before it gets to a crisis type scenario.
Yeah. One thing I did just think of is a lot of times, a lot of these seize cases will happen because a couple gets divorced. So and it made me think of like when you were talking about estate planning and like making a plan B, a lot of people, when they get married, they don't automatically assume they're going to get divorced.
Right.
Even though the divorce rate is high in our country, they still don't think about it when they get married.
Yes.
So when that happens, when they get divorced, like how can you plan for it? And like, it's not really like, would it be like a prenup type situation, or?
If you have a lot of money, great. Don't worry about stuff like that. But if you don't, I think one of the important things is to know your resources, know what's local to you, know what's out there that can help assist you. So whether that's downsizing your herd, whether you just need a couple of months to stay on your feet, there's short-term programs and there's long-term resources as well. So just knowing what step one, reach out for help.
Right.
B, know in advance what resources are local to you.
Great. And this next question, I actually just started asking this with my last interview, but I want to hear from all of you on this one. So what does it mean to you to be an educated cowgirl?
I can go first. I'll take the reins for 1 second. I'll give Ashley a break from jumping in first. For me, it means that you never stop learning. You never think that you are fully educated. You ask the questions and you don't worry about what anyone thinks when you ask those questions, because you don't need to be ashamed of not knowing.
Love it.
I'm gonna, because it all sort of ties in, I'm gonna sum up and say that to me, being an educated cowgirl is knowing that any one of us is only one bad crisis in life from putting the horses we love at risk. Nobody, like I said, nobody is immune. And I think we all need to be educated about the options and the resources that are available to us. Not only if something were to happen, but just making sure as much as possibly as I can that I'm taking steps preemptively to prevent my horse from being one of those statistics. So it is my responsibility as an owner, when I decided to purchase or adopt, in my case, my horse, to ensure that that it's not only safe with me, but also who may come after me.
Great.
Yeah. I would agree with both. As a college professor, education is key, to never stop learning. Even though I'm the one teaching the course, I still learn a lot from my students. They bring up these great research, all these great results, and I learn new things. And of course, they're all around the country, so I learn from that there. And for me, it means being able to provide for my horses as best as I can, and always learning. Horses can be very humbling, and they certainly can teach us a lot. I joke around that I do have my veterinary education just from all the crazy things that people come up with. So never stop learning and never stop trying to do your best. And finally, I would say always keep building your network, because that's where, if you do need help, they're there. That's where you can learn from people. That's where you can make new friendships and go trail riding in new places with people, or try a new sport. So keep learning and build your network, I would say.
Oh, all good answers. Love it so much. Love it. I'm so excited. I'm starting asking these questions with your interview and then the last interview that I did.
That's a good one.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna end with some fun rapid fire questions. All right. So first one, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? Like, wake up tomorrow, you have a superpower. What is it?
I shoot money out of my fingers.
Right.
Unlimited funds.
That would be fun. Now you've ruined it.
Right?
It'd be nice to pause time, I think. That you could just
yeah,
because you could just pause, go clean your paddock, and then unpause and go enjoy the day.
I like that.
Yeah. Or you could be like Flash, where you could be like Flash, where you speed up, but everyone around you slows down.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like that.
So there's no horse person ever thinks the day is long enough. Ever.
No.
It's a fact. It is.
Yeah.
Fact.
Great.
Suck.
No.
I think if I could have a superpower, it would probably be to teleport.
Nice.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I say it all the time, actually, because I do a lot of commuting.
Nice. All right. What is your biggest horse ick? I know it's a big one.
Probably the gelding stomach gurgles.
Yeah.
Muddy paddocks.
Yeah.
Getting my boot stuck and
then it comes off the foot.
That's an ick.
We don't have mud here in South Carolina. It's very sandy.
Nothing but right now.
But I have to say, my poor mare, she's 25. She just turned 25 the other day. And she has a tooth that is rotting. So we're going to have to take it. It's a top tooth. So we're probably going to punch it out. But she had some mucus in her nose. And I'm not great with mucus. And the smell, I have a really good stomach, but it was close. It was like, oh.
Yeah.
That was pretty
did the tooth thing.
Yeah. But it's what she needs.
Yeah.
Abscesses. Abscesses is another yuck one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's what is your dream international vacation spot?
Iceland.
I'd like to do Iceland. Yeah. I really want to go to Australia. The more I see, the more things.
Spiders, though.
They can kill you. They rain spiders.
Yeah.
That's the one reason I could not do it.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. I don't know. I'd have to go to Scotland again.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I feel like I'm hoping that if I ever do go to Australia, that the beauty will overpower my fear of giant animals trying to kill me.
Overcome the giant insects.
Yeah, no, good.
That is definitely a factor into like destination.
Yeah.
What is
we're
their wildlife like?
We're horse people, so we're going to be outside. We're not going on a vacation to sit in a spa.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, but there's also a place in Africa where you can it's like a safari on horseback, and I think it's really cool. I think.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. What is since summer is coming up soon, what is your favorite summer activity that doesn't involve horses?
Sitting by the ocean.
I was going to say, I used to live near the ocean, but now I live in the mountains. So I miss the ocean, and I miss
every minute I can.
I don't understand the question. Doesn't involve
horses. I know. That's like a big question for horse people. We're like, wait a second. What do I do?
Right?
I don't know. Sitting around the fire with friends.
Reading a good book.
Books about
next to the ocean.
Actually.
next to the ocean. I have a long list of books that have accumulated that need some good reading.
Yeah, I'll take this puppy to the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, now you have a puppy to do summer activities with.
Yeah.
Like sleeping.
Yeah.
So good. So fun. All right. So this has been so much fun, so interesting and fascinating for me and thank you guys again for taking time away from your busy days to talk to me. If people would like to find you and reach out or find UHC or EWDC, where can they do that?
So I am at OPS at horsecouncil.org. And that's I'm Ashley at Harkins. Sorry, you probably can't tell through our voices.
Right. And myself, Kelsey Buckley, I am EWDC at horsecouncil.org.
And Andrea Manly, I am UHC at horsecouncil.org.
Great. And then how can people follow along on social media?
Oh, yeah. We have all of the above. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook.
And it's under the United Horse Coalition, right,
Yes,
Ashley?
United Horse Coalition, yep.
Great.
Or if you're interested, there's also American Horse Council as well.
Perfect. Yes. That's so great. Well, thank you guys so much for
having us.
Great.
It was fun.
We love spreading the word.
Thank you so much for joining me for this episode of the Educated Cowgirl Podcast. I hope you enjoyed it, learned something new, and will come back for more. But for now, stay blessed and ride on, cowgirls.